This is now the Way of Astrology Step 2. And I'm going to tell you a bit more and give you a bit more information that you need to begin looking at horoscopes and interpreting them. So two things first. One is, if you send me an email directly to bllntr@yahoo.com, I'll send you a couple of PDF books. One is by Elsa Parker called, can't remember what it's called, Astrology and Its Practical Application. And the second one is by Vivian Robson, The Beginner's Guide to Practical Astrology. They're older. The Elsa Parker book came out in 1940 or so, and the Vivian Robson book is kind of the same period, but they're good and practical and useful and correct, and they're not psychological, which is important. Because we want to be able to read a chart so we can understand how the person is built, what they're like, rather than what's wrong with them and how we're going to fix it, which is too much at the beginning. So that's one thing. Send me an email and I'll send you a couple of PDFs. The other thing is, you're going to get on better if you have more than one chart to study. So by all means, have your own chart and the charts of family members. But it's a good idea to go to Astro Data Bank, as I mentioned last time, and get some correct or reasonably accurate horoscopes of famous people. And I've got this one today. We're going to look at Emma Watson. And I picked her because everybody knows, because she was in the Harry Potter series of movies. So, and she's done quite a lot more than just being an actor. So, this if you look at the chart, you see all this. You've got house cusps and you've got planets and you've got connections between them, and planets are in signs. It's all too much in the beginning. So we don't want to start with a horoscope like this. What we want to do is begin with a blank chart. So if I take Emma's chart, we start like this, and she's got 27 Virgo rising, and that's where we begin. She's got Virgo rising, and we take the keyword for Virgo is I analyze. So she is in life to analyze herself, because the first house here is the house of the self. So I'm not in life to analyze myself. I have Aries rising. I want to be myself. I want to be able to say I am myself, because the keyword for Aries is I am. If you have Libra rising, you're in life to find balance within yourself. So we've got different directions or different paths to travel. And the path you're traveling is shown by the ascendant, the sign on the cusp. There's more, because we're going to look at decanates and so on. But at this point, with step 2, we're keeping it simple and looking just at the sign. So you get a keyword for the sign, and you put it together with the house meaning, and you think about what that would mean. What kind of person are you? And what's your natural way of acting when it comes to yourself? So, with Virgo rising, she's in life to analyze herself. I'll jump ahead and talk about the 7th house cusp. When I mentioned before, learn 6 pairs of opposites. So Virgo's opposite Pisces. And the key word for Pisces is I believe. So she's to analyze herself, as well as she is meant to believe in other people. And this is because the 7th house cusp shows what you're meant to become in life. So Emma is meant to analyze herself so that she can believe in other people, so that ultimately she comes to believe in herself. And that's the two sides of the coin of the self and other people. But before we get to this point of bringing in the 7th house cusp, she's in life to analyze herself. How is she going to do this? Virgo, you may or may not know, is ruled by Mercury, and she has Mercury here at 14 Taurus in the 8th house. This is house number 8. Right, so she has the ruler of the first, the planet that rules the sign on the cusp of the first house, the ruler of the first in the 8th. So how does she analyze herself? Through other people's values, other people's opinions, because the moon, the Mercury, the ruler, is in the 8th house. If somebody is born with, let's say you get, again, take Virgo rising, and you've got Mercury in the 12th house, which is this one. You're in life, you analyze yourself through being in prison or through isolation or through making mistakes, because the 12th is a house of self-undoing. You make a mistake, it was your fault, you figured out what you did wrong. That helps you understand yourself because you're analyzing yourself through mistakes that you make. If you've got Virgo rising and Mercury is in the 3rd house, you analyze yourself through your communications. So you speak, you write, you communicate something, and that enables you to analyze yourself. Maybe you, depending on the sign, you maybe want to be efficient or effective in how you communicate. So the logic is, let me put Pisces here. So the logic is, if you have Virgo rising and Mercury in the 7th, the house of other people control you. That's the method. Whereas if you have Pisces in the 7th house cusp and Jupiter that rules Pisces in the 1st house, in the house of self, you, the self, control other people. You control your partners. If you've got the ruler of the 7th in the 1st. That's the logic, that's the method. So with Emma Watson, she's got the ruler of the 1st in the 8th. So other people's opinions, other people's values control her. So what we're doing is we're making short, simple statements that are true about the individual. And as we go through and add decanates and other planets and other signs and so on, and key ideas about the signs and the planet, the Mercury in Taurus has a certain particular meaning, and Mercury in the 8th has a particular meaning as well, you begin to build up layer upon layer of information about the individual. But the thing is, you're explaining or describing facts and the truth about the individual whose chart you've got. And we don't start with the whole chart here. Okay, we don't start with the whole chart. You can ultimately, you get to the point where you can look at a whole chart and you can begin to make sense of it. But in the beginning, we stick with the ascendant and the planet that rules the ascendant. Mercury in the 8th in Taurus. So you would have, let's say you've got astrology in its practical application. You look through it and you read about Virgo rising, because Elsa will tell you that, give you information about it. And you can make notes about the nature of Virgo rising. And then you get Mercury in Taurus. What is that? What kind of person is that? And then you get Mercury in the 8th house. What does that tell you about the native? So you do it for one person. Let's say you've got charts of 10 famous people. You can then get more information and expand your understanding, because you've got somebody with Scorpio rising and somebody with Sagittarius rising. And so you begin to understand the nature of the different signs when rising. The other thing is, with Emma and various other people as well, you can go to Wikipedia. I would show you a photograph, but I don't know if it may be copyright, and I don't want YouTube to take this video down before it's even got up. So I can't show you a photograph, but go onto the internet and get some photographs of, for instance, of Emma or whoever it is, whoever the chart is that you're looking at, and gather them together, because the ascendant describes what you look like. So Emma's got a kind of pointed chin, and having a pointed chin is one of the characteristic features of Virgo rising. And it's a way you can figure out, if you don't know what time of day the person's born and they've got a pointed chin, that's a strong indication they've got Virgo rising. So you figure out what time of day of birth would give them Virgo rising, and you've got a starting point. So you can get photographs of the people whose charts you're looking at and gather them all together. And as time goes by and as we study more, you're going to be able to make more sense of it and identify people according to what they look like. So the other thing is, if you get a Wikipedia summary of the life of the individual, you'll get all sorts of information. So we discovered that Emma got a degree in English literature at Brown University. She was born in Paris, and she gets a degree in the US. So we don't think, okay, Virgo rising, she's going to get a degree, because higher education is ruled by the 9th house up here. So in order to get information about her academic studies, we would study this part of the horoscope and the sign on the cusp and the planet that rules it and the decanate and the rest of it, to get an idea of why she went and why she picked English literature. Because somebody else can have Virgo rising and they don't go to university. Why not? So what you do is you go through the biography and you make some notes about what actually happened to her, because she's an actress. She went to university. She was a spokesperson for United Nations for women's rights. So she's got an idealistic streak as well. She and her brother also developed a brand of gin. I forget what it's called, but the parents were involved in winemaking in France. And so she and her brother developed, for whatever reason. And again, we know that she's involved in business as well. Why? What in the chart shows that? Because business is the 10th house. And she's a spokesperson for Burberry and various other brand names. Why? Partly because Gemini on the midheaven, which this is Emma herself, one-on-one, the person, and this is the public image. And Mercury rules the self and the public image. So she, in a way, is her own brand, or she's able to present a brand through her own self, because Gemini here ruled by Mercury, Virgo here ruled by Mercury, it's the same planet. So I have to watch the time, and I'm suddenly abruptly going to end. So that's going to be step 2, and I'll see you quite short or quite soon for step 3, okay? If you have comments or questions, leave them down below or email me directly. Okay, bye-bye.